So we start the beginning of the end with a wrap-up, and Don Frush is going to bring that to us as co-chair of the past day and a half. And I wanted to thank you all very much for staying connected, staying engaged, and for the fantastic questions and the Q&A sessions that will all get published as part of the proceedings. Look forward to the proceedings. That will have some permanence to this meeting, and it gives all of us something to reference most of the good ideas. So congratulations to you all for sticking in here for the beginning of the end. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Larry, and I'm Don Frush. And I've been the guy sitting in the back on my computer, and I'm not answering email. We're to put out a newsletter, so I've been trying to take notes about the conversations and the talks here. Another thing I'd just like to point out is this discussion of the deterministic or tissue effects and hair loss as an adverse thing. Come on. And the whole conference has really been about targeted talks, so I thought about just doing it this way and say, here are my slides, any questions? But we'll go through them one by one. And we have to start out with thanks for the sponsors for this meeting. It was a tremendous effort on their part to get this done in a timely fashion. The support is extremely welcome. They were very gracious in the interactions and engagements, and I've listed those organizations here for you to see once again. Larry and I give our deepest gratitude to the program committee here. I think John presented these early on, but just one more look at those individuals. We had a couple of very good calls. There were some controversies, but that builds a better program. So we were very lucky to have people who contributed in such a great way to this program here. Other gratitude, obviously, Laura and Cindy O'Brien and the other photographers here, as well as the AV professionals. And you guys don't get called out very often, but I'd just like to give you a round of applause because without you, none of this would happen. So thank you very much. And to all the presenters, too. That's the content of this meeting. And finally, I guess I'm just thanking everyone. It's like the Academy Awards here. To you all as an audience, because the questions themselves help form this meeting. And the conversations in the hallways and in between the sessions have been particularly helpful over the years, I've found, in terms of next year's meeting ideas, what could be 2 years from now, what are some cooperative projects, papers, and so on. That goes without saying, and that is the dynamic part of what you all bring to this, so thank you to you as well. So just some meeting facts, 326 badges were issued. Doesn't mean 326 people were here, but the count for this meeting was very good, 326. And responsibility, we talked about this as a program committee, we talked about this as a board, conveys a certain dynamic vitality, more than just radiation protection, which seems to be a little bit static. And I think that was reflected in many of the talks here. It's an active perspective. And I have to say, in taking notes and putting this together, the human narrative started very early with Ms. Niehaus. It sometimes was quiet and sometimes shouted, but it was always there and brought a certain vitality to the meeting that I think was our intent when we designed this, and it was great to see that consistent fabric was there. And this may be kind of a strange thing to say, but we talk about content and experts and getting enduring material, and then we roll it out because this is in the public good, and we bring it to these people. But I sense that group, that the individualized patient, that the public was actually here and had a voice through the various presenters there. So there was a much greater a presence and timeliness of the public here. So this was just sort of a template when we're filling in the time slots, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But there were 25 presentations, including the moderators. I just have to say, and in doing meetings like this, the yes factor was so high for people in this, and the few people who said no, were mainly conflicts, and they just couldn't do it for one reason or another. Just to go back to an original slide John presented here in terms of some of the initiatives, the email survey and the ways to improve the meeting are going to be very important. And that's really because this was a different format. We needed to cover a lot of information over a fairly short period of time. I mean, we took a stroll through the entire medical imaging and radiation therapy field here in a very short period of time. And so the feedback for this is going to be important. Were the shorter talks helpful? How can this be improved? And I have NCRP in colors here. You'll see about that for a minute. So the format was short, was targeted, and everybody as a presenter seemed to follow our prescription very well. Little background, little history, what is new in the last decade. This isn't a review of everything we've done since the time Rankin discovered X-rays, and particularly to emphasize the challenges and the opportunities, especially the role of NCRP. And this template was followed again and again and again, and I thought it was very good to have that consistency. Now, NCRP was a subtle change here, National Council on Radiation Protection, but I would argue for this meeting, it was a National Council on Responsibility to People or to the public for this meeting, and that is an idea, again, that came through in a number of talks. So the new format is a little bit like speed dating, okay? Another analogy is a little bit like Joey Chestnut here in a hot dog eating contest, and you know, there's a lot of information coming at you quick, and it was moving from one thing to the other. So I thought, how do you combine these two sort of analogies together? So I went on Google, and it was real risky. I was going to say, what's going to come up? Dating a hot dog. It was a little risky, but I thought this one was okay. So anyway, it was a lot. It was coming at you quick, but the benefit of that is it was a huge domain to cover, and in deciding about those shorter talks, what do you leave out? And I don't think, in looking back at any talk here, that it wouldn't have been fair to leave out that content. So, and here are the sessions just in review, opening sessions. The blue are the various sessions dealing with the scientific content. I'll just walk through a number of slides. We had great presentations on CT, on radiography, on fluoroscopy. Cynthia McCullough gave a great talk, talked about the new technology advancements. Fred Fahey talked about hybrid imaging. We had talks on external beam radiation therapy and other modalities, brachytherapy and so on. Throughout, obviously a session on dose, on risk, on risk-benefit analysis here, and a nice summary slide from that talk as well. Maitre Chatfield took us through a walk, really, the quality images involved with diagnostic and image-guided procedures for radiology and the various resources that are available. Very good talk as well. We came to the communication piece, and Jessica Weider, I think, touched on all of us with what we can do and what we haven't done, and that's very important to hear. Larry Dower gave another great talk, and you see the consistency in things like quality and personal connection, on shared decision-making, on things, again, that get at this issue of bringing the public in here, the patient and the public were with us at this meeting. Maria Perez, excellent global perspective that echoed and reflected many of the things that we said that she was able to provide for us here. And Keith Strauss in the great innovation section talked about partnership and teamwork is important here. And all of these things, you see the words that come through, the quality, the teamwork, the shared decision-making, etc., that really form the idea of responsibility here. So what is the path forward? And I'll just throw out some things here, some ideas. John may talk a little bit more about what NCRP's role is. But you know, this is really important because medical radiation is the largest man-made source of radiation to which the U.S. public is exposed. The momentum of technical advancements and opportunities and challenges, I think, came through very clearly here. Understanding the benefits and barriers of dose and risk and the measures we consider, estimations and risks and so on, was, I think, very well discussed on both the invited lectures as well as the separate session presentations. And I would argue that medical imaging needs to be a frequent topic. It doesn't necessarily have to be the compelling, overwhelming topic at each meeting, but because this is such a huge public concern, because we do so much medical radiation, that I would offer that we need to consider this as an important element at frequent meetings, rather than every decade talk about medical imaging. The importance of NCRP documents, including meeting publications, I think is the venue for how this information gets out there. And we need to, again, get at some of the challenges with getting this information done in a timely fashion and available. And it's also, this program is a validation of the role of NCRP in medical radiation use in terms of having a concise and comprehensive way that we have looked at and verified what is currently being done in terms of supporting and endorsing and being there available for regulatory considerations, new laws, for securing funding from relevant resources, whether this ends up being a prospectus that can be developed and says, this is what the NCRP does for medical imaging. And also a testimonial to the evolution, the things that we began with here, the human narrative of culture, value, personalized teamwork, and shared decision making. So that's the summary and the wrap up of the meeting here. I hope it's less of a wrap up than it is something as a stimulus to you all to go out in whatever professional capacity you have and carry what I've seen as a real formative part of this meeting with you in your endeavors. Thank you very much.
Just before this session started, I was asked whether I could write up how we conduct our meetings, and I was going to talk to Don that in terms of other large organizations, this is really an innovative format, not just with the speed dating, which is phenomenal, and that I was skeptical that it would work, but it actually, did work. There was so much great exchange of information in a short time with all the highlights. It was fantastic, but also some of the things like the questions and answers. Now we're just talking about format. We have the questions and answers. No one stands up and pontificates for 10 minutes in our 15-minute Q&A. The questions are triaged. They'll all be written up. They'll all be published. There's things that have been developed and then have peaked, like for this annual meeting, which is phenomenal, just in the format itself. The other thing, of course, is extremely valuable is we had such great content, isn't that right? I mean, the program committee and put together such a comprehensive, complete review of medical radiation. What are the issues? What are them with the machines, with the patients, with doses? It was just phenomenal. And we all recognize this, the #1 population exposure in the United States is medical radiation. And so we should be spending more and more time and effort. NCRP should be doing that, and the path forwards are great. But I think I have a few set of slides. I'm going to try to do this in 15 minutes. Now we're going to go from the specific to I'm going to explain everything about NCRP in 15 minutes, okay? And let's see how we can do it. And I'll talk about our partners, about we can't do this alone. We need resources. We need the volunteers. And so who are our partners? What are our scientific committees? And what are the program area committees? One of the things I mentioned, we partner with so many people that are not even recognized. This list is very incomplete. But Image Gently, we've been partnering with them since 2007 with the Centers for Disease Control and educational material on how to interpret epidemiologic studies like Roy Shore was presenting. CRCPD, trying to partner with them. We continue partnership with IAEA in their 9th conference on NORM, which will be in Denver in 2019. The Health Physics Society. We, for the last 3 years, have done the content for the mid-years. The last one in Denver last month was on waste management. The Department of Defense, we have many collaborations now and in the past, and we're going to meet with them in a week to discuss other avenues where we, the National Council, could be helpful for the military. Emergency response with Homeland Security, we think that's another really important area that we'll be dealing with. And then with IRPA, we actually are involved with IRPA 2024. We were in on the committees that helped get the bid, and then on the program committee on Orlando, the issue will be on harmonization. And then international collaborations, just to mention that we are linked liaison organizations with ICRP, 2 members of the main main commission of ICRP are on our council, and with UNSCARE, we have 7 of the U.S. delegation, 7 council members are also involved in the United Nations Scientific Committee of Atomic Radiation. So we've tried to, just to mention, we're small, but we have a broad influence, and we try to partner. I just re-emphasize, because of this this meeting, that we have been part of the alliance for Image Gently since the first, in 2007. So we were one of in the first years, and now we're continuing on the with the contributions, and Don had invited me, and I was elected to be on the steering committee for Image Gently. So we're taking this commitment about medical radiation, medical exposures very seriously. We continue to do studies, and I just want to mention that. That's another issue. And we have the 1 million-person study, and this is ongoing, and we're hoping to finish it up in 4 years. And I mentioned it earlier, we'll finish it up in 4 years. It'll be, if we get funding, it'll be a 1 million-person study. If we don't, it'll be a 0.6 million-person study. And this year or next year, many of the findings will be published in the International Journal of Radiation Biology. So it's been, where are the findings? They've been here and there, but we're going to be getting it all out. Oh, I wanted to mention too about there's this interest, in the nation about low-dose radiation. The GAO report in 2017 emphasized the need for interagency collaboration and support for low-dose radiation. The 1 million-person study was highlighted. But then what's remarkable, not remarkable, I guess, but the House of Representatives passed a bill, the Low-Dose Radiation Research Act of 2017. It was passed by the House of Representatives bipartisan, and it's now at the Senate. And the Senate received it. It's in one of their scientific committees. And this, if the Senate passes it, and I understand it would be very helpful to have sponsors, senators from particular states actually sponsoring it. And if that happens, then it would likely go through, and then with the presidential signature, but it would provide, as written, $120 million for low-dose radiation research over the next 5 years. And this would then help replenish radiation biology, radiation research, and getting things back at least a little bit from the way they were. So we're very hopeful that that this may occur. The other issue too, it just shows the interest that people, the public, the Congress are interested in radiation, and radiation at low doses, and radiation that we deal with in protection of the patients, protection with lower dose, protection of the public, protection of workers. We have 7 program area committees, and these are very active. We come and meet the entire day on Sunday before, and we meet and discuss independently, and then we come together and make presentations so that we, in fact, can be more integrated in our approach to radiation protection. We need to be better. We have one on medicine. That's one of our largest ones, reflecting the importance of medical exposures. But it's on measurements, risk communication, epidemiology, operational, radiation protection, security, and safety. These are active committees. We have a lot of active committees, so maybe it's just on radiation protection and guidance, on where are the radiation professionals, on it's very specific, different effectivenesses and different energies of ionizing radiation. We do a lot with NASA in space. And so what are the effects of central nervous system conditions given the galactic cosmic rays that the astronauts will face? Roy Shore just talked about what's the implications of the new epidemiology for LNT. The other thing, the approaches have to integrate. We have a committee integrating the epidemiology with the radiation biology to see if we can get models to get better risk projections in the low-dose domain where epidemiology can never provide the answer. Radiation protection field sources, emergency responders, dentistry, evaluation of radiation risks for studies involving human subjects, patient dose utilization, medical exposures of patients in the United States, error prevention, T-norm, hydraulic fracturing. What about this radiation comes up when you're doing all this stuff? Dosimetry for a 1 million-person study. What's ongoing? The first one is mistitled. I'm sorry about that. No, it's correct. It is but modeling risk projections about site-specific differences in lung cancer and projecting risk for it in time. Error prevention, radiotherapy, occupational doses to pilots and aircrew. That should be starting near the end of the year. Continued medical guidance for medical workers with a focus on lung cancer, and then models for brain dosimetry for radionuclides that have been ingested, and the radionuclides go to the brain, they pass the blood-brain barrier, and we're trying to improve estimates of dose from ingested radionuclides to be an analog for NASA, a human analog, where when you go out to space, you have these high energy ions zipping through your brain, and it's very uncertain what the risks on cognitive function or a dementia might be. Pack 1, and this is a recent picture, just a fantastic, it's a fantastic group that comes together, meets, and has suggestions on what we should be doing or could be doing in biology, epidemiology, and this is one of the important ones with Julian Preston and Verna Room. I'm not going to mention all the committees, but on integrating radiation biology and epidemiology. I mean, that is we've already met, it's ongoing, and there's an excitement in this group about what can be done with good epidemiology and new radiation biology principles. They are thinking about many things, and I just selected these. They believe that cardiovascular disease and cardiac risk from radiation is an important area that we should be looking into very carefully, at least in providing commentaries and more reports. We'd love to do this. One of the limiting factors for NCRP is the resources to do that. We have the people, we have the ideas, and now how can we get the resources to follow through? We're chartered by Congress. The United States Congress has chartered us. We're chartered. We're a nonprofit. They chartered us, but that we're not funded by Congress. So we have to get resources from agencies, societies, publications, and stuff to move forward. Pack 2. Look at everybody's smiling. See how happy it is to be part of the NCRP? It's just really great, But this is Kathy Pryor's the powerhouse behind the pack. And one of the things that's just as in press is getting this report out on sealed sources, radiation safety of sealed sources. So that's coming. One of the items they said they'd like to do is update our report 127, which is operational radiation safety. It was published so many years ago, and this is something they feel that a new update would be really valuable. Nuclear and radiological security and safety. This is Armin Ansari and Brooke Buttermeyer, the chairs and co-chairs, and dealing with these important issues of nuclear terrorism and issues that the United States might very well face, and how can we address these concerns. And they've just published a report on implementation of guidance for emergency responders dosimetry. New York City, New York State, they came to us, the people that were involved in 9/11, they were saying, we're a target, and what happened with an IMD, we're not talking about dirty bombs, we're talking about a nuclear device going off. How do we respond? How do we have dosimetry? What's the best dosimetry? And we're sending the men in. They deal with emergencies all the time, but this adds to the radiation dimension. So we have this as a commentary, a report just coming out. We're working on a commentary right now. And we work on the commentary and committees with the fire chiefs of large cities like Dallas, New York City, and Washington, D.C. So we're getting the advice from the stakeholders and people that are saying, we need to have this understanding. This is what would be helpful for us. The new comment, and this is another thing with the PAC, last year's annual meeting was on emergency response and preparedness. What are the gaps? They are preparing a commentary. First time we've ever done that in an annual meeting is to actually follow up. We're going to publish these proceedings, follow up with a commentary. Okay, this is the synthesis of what the gaps are, what we know and what we don't know. So that's coming soon. PAC 4. Well, you have just experienced PAC 4. It's phenomenal, and there's so much more to do. Mentioning it again, it's the number one population exposure. And there's so many issues with regard to the patients themselves and ways in which we can improve medical care by better diagnoses, better images, and trying to do it with saving the dose, making it as low as reasonable, but not so low that it's not informative. It's just so much to do and can be done, as you've heard. And one of the committees that's ongoing, Fred says he's going to get it out this year, and Fred Mettler, he's our taskmaster, but this is just phenomenal. Medical exposures of patients in the United States is an update of over 160. And he showed this graph, I'd like to show it again, about the increase in CTs in the United States. And this is relatively new. You've seen this level off. But in 2011, it was up to 85 million exams per year. And then I did the projections. You keep going, and then it would be off the charts, even now 5 years later. But it is, based on the collection of data that we have, and from the marketing concerns, it looks very much like it's leveled off in some way. So it's a better utilization and the combination of these hybrid machines, and it's just phenomenal on what's happening. For the future, they have many future activities that they were important, but this was just one on patient dose management and digital projection radiography that struck me as a relative, as one of the many items of statements or commentary that we'd like to go forward. Environmental radiation issues, waste management, what the radiation in the environment, another, a happy group, and what's ongoing right now is we have a committee where the states came to us and said, we'd really like to have more common guidance on technically enhanced naturally occurring radiation material with regard to the transport across states, same standards. The government does not regulate the norm or T norms, so the states are on their own. And so now we're just laying out this program in a commentary, and I believe this year it should be close to being finalized. Their future issue was they want to update our report 175 with a focus on waste management. This is late-stage recovery after a major radiological incident, like a Fukushima or a terrorist event. What happens when you have all this waste laying around, and what do you do with it? It's not, and so we're thinking about that. International agencies are thinking, have reported on that. What do we do with that? PAC-6 radiation measurements and dosimetry. Everyone forgets, and Steve reminds us, it's the National Council of Radiation Protection and Measurements. And that's one of the really important things, as Hans Menzel on his marvelous daily lecture put about quantities and units and measurements. As our founder, Lori Taylor, was so specific, about over his career. One of the things we hoped we could start last year, we're not able to, but we'll be looking at air crew and pilots and assessing their doses. That occupational group has the most exposure collectively. There's so many of them, and when they fly high and they don't have the protection of the Earth's atmosphere, they have increased exposure to common cosmic rays, and it can be 3 to 6 millisieverts per year with a neutron exposure. So we're going to have a new look on what the exposures are for the air crew and the pilots. One of the other issues with PAC-6 was they'd like to update report number 58, a number of the medical community also were interested in updating that also. The Handbook of Radioactive Activity Measurements and Procedures, PAC-7. This is the new light, if you will. It says we've got all this good material. How do we communicate it? How can we help? It's been difficult. Those of us who've been involved 40, 50 years, how do you communicate radiation risk, radiation benefit, radiation issues, in a way that the public and even the scientists can understand? And so we have this, a committee now for several years, and now they're moving forward. One of the things they've been doing is a liaison activities with our CC1, our radiation regulations. They've met with them and rolled out. We're going to have, for the public and press releases and innovative ways to not just have a one-page press release. The same with the L&T discussion, and it's already been done with emergency response to a cemetery. One of the things too is that, and I just mentioned that NCRP through this committee and Jessica Whitaker in particular, we have a Facebook presence right now, and we're going to be improving it. But we actually have posts all the time. We've got several posts already, from this annual meeting. This was the dinner speaker. It was really marvelous. Dr. Richard Mazur talking about reflections on Fukushima. So he was there, and we just had noticing for the public the things that we're involved with. And so that'll be coming. One of their future things is videos, and how can we more effectively use videos in getting the message out. And there's a long list of items. CC1, this I had mentioned a number of times, probably the most important NCRP report we published in 20 years now. Probably it will be so influential. It's a quantum leap above what's ever been done before in radiation protection. It's new approaches, but then it's keeping the same balance of justification, optimization, and numerical guidance that can be used all sorts of limits. So it's phenomenal. Then again, we don't have enough radiation professionals. It really is a crisis. So many of us keep going on, and then we're stepping down. And this is happening, all over the world now. And so we have a crisis right now. And who's going to replace? What's the next level? We have lots of younger people interested in being engaged, but there's not programs, there's not fundings, there's not AEC fellowships, there's not postdocs, there's not a pipe anymore. You say, well, we'll just cut up the pipeline. The programs are being closed. There's so many issues. And then something's going to happen, and the nation will need guidance. The nation will need guidance. We need regulators, radiation epidemiologists, chemists, biologists, all health physicists to be able to provide guidance and help for the nation. And so we're continuing, under the leadership now of Newhouse and Jackie Williams to try to keep moving forward on that. Thank you on behalf of the NCRP. And now I'll go right quickly. I think since Don has already done this, I'm thanking everyone, but I need to then thank him, so that'll make this very brief. But as we mentioned, this has been one of the most marvelous annual meetings, programs, exchange of information, new ideas. Even if you weren't attuned to digital radiography or multi-phased phasic CTs and hybrid PC, you got the impression, and you got the knowledge. This is really important. But Don Frush and Larry Dowler, and then Linda Kroger, Fred Mettler, Don Miller, Julie Timmons, and Pat Zanzanico made such a wonderful development of this. So if you just would thank me, I don't thank them. Okay. So that was just good. I have two more. I'm done. We've already, Don's already, we can't do anything. Laura, she runs the NCRP. And she tells me what I'm supposed to do, when I'm supposed to show up and make sure I have everything. She lets me talk, so I have a lot to, which is giving me a hazard. But just she's remarkable. On the back of Kathy Hill, our chief radiation scientist and CEO, she doesn't get enough credit, executive director, and just always here making sure we're properly taken care of. Cindy O'Brien, she puts together all the slides, all the materials, all the programs. She's remarkable. Bev Ottman and Myrna Young are all here. We're all as a team working together. Oh, we should clap for them. And then one of the things too, I'm just thrilled when we start I'm really thrilled when we start with a presentation of the colors and the color guard, and then when Kimberly Gaston sings the national anthem. This is the third year, puts me in another stratosphere. My mind is not on this, I'm on the national effort of the United States, and it's just been wonderful that we've been able to keep this activity going. And we hope, we're the National Council. We should have national, recognition when we start, so they've been marvelous. We got the idea what this is what the Nuclear Regulatory Commission does on their large RIC conferences. We got the idea from them and just say, well, let's see if we ask, and it's been phenomenal. These are the other people Don had mentioned, but as I think we had several photographers, and just Tom Johnson from Colorado State University, but, was there photography, but his whole group has been here, or several. Not the whole group, but videoing. Okay, you're good. But video, and within a few weeks or a month, everything, all the presentations will be up on our website. So we'll have the proceedings and published and all of that. We'll also have something in the Health Physics newsletter, which we try to do as quickly as possible, summarizing what we said, but then the presentations, the videos will be available. They've been available for all the last years too, if you look on our website. It is fantastic, our collaborations with the United States military. And they've come here and provided support. With encouragement has made Major Alston has been the coordinator, but then all the ones that are there for us with collection of the questions and answers and things, just to have that support and be able to call upon them in that way has been very much appreciated. So if we are those volunteers, and we already mentioned Tom and Joshua, Colorado State behind, and then the last we need to express, and Don, you already did it, but these guys, Dale, Garbutt and Jennifer Glesson and Mary Kozak for the audio visuals. It really is phenomenal that, we've had very few technical glitches, right? This ran out of time. People have talked and had 12 minutes, but you didn't have all the slides, we gotta wait till we finish. It was really efficient, and they worked. I finished the slides that I just did last night at around 2 in the morning. They were here at 6 in the morning to make sure it could be processed and put in the right format for us. So just give you an idea that it's sort of like a team approach. We're all doing this together, and it's greatly, greatly appreciated. We've had sponsors. This is the first time we've had sponsors, and it was wonderful. And I know a number of the sponsors that are in the audience. It was just really greatly, appreciated because your national council, as mentioned, we have a really tight budget, and every few dollars, like I say, it's not how much you give, that you get for us and for the nation. And these groups have been just Siemens, GE Healthcare, ACR, Philips, Sloan Kettering, and then the Radiation Research Society. Hey, let's thank them. Those are making that thank you very much. Well, I want to say, you think this was good. Wait till next year. Now we've already, next year we'll be celebrating the 90th anniversary. We began in 1929, so this is going to be our 90th year. And so we had a change at the business meeting. It's going to be NCRP 90 Shades of Gray. Well, no, you didn't like that. Okay, it's no copyright problem because it's GR. That's GRAY. Okay, so but this is actually going to be dynamic and the best answers to questions we frequently ask, and it's just will be in the format that they'll be presenting will be rather unique. So thank you all very much.